Alright guys, so let's continue with where we started. And I'm going to kind of go into expert mode here. I'm going to hit control space so we get a little more real estate. Alright. Now if you guys recall, when we did the handle, we made sure it had 8 sides. That was a strategic move because when you're tying in something like this onto a mesh like this, the nice thing about 8 sides is that you can tie it in so that the sides will connect, and then you can basically, like, the intermediate sections in between the crosshair sections, if you will, they'll actually be able to connect it too, and you'll see that in a second. It'll become very evident once we start doing it. So first thing I'm going to do is, let's go to my front view here. So I can still move this around, move my handle around by using the curve. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it so basically this little cross that we got right here, this curve actually goes right up to this cross. So then that way it will connect nice and easily. I'm making it convenient on myself. Now, the most important thing is that it looks correct. So if you do this and it doesn't look right, you may have to adjust where these edges are. So, for instance, actually, I could probably do that right now without having to move the curve. I could just go ahead and go into my edges. Oh, and by the way, I have changed my hotkeys a little bit. Almost every program I use, the hotkeys 1, 2, and 3 is verts, edges, and polygons. So if I hit 3, that would be polygons. If I hit 1, it would be verts. And so I'm so dialed into doing that I changed my hotkeys, and I made 1, 2, and 3 my vert, edge, and poly selection. And then what I did is I moved the keys that were in there up to F1, F2, and F3. So basically, the smooth preview that you can see here, I just moved those up to the F keys, and then I moved the F keys up over to where the original vert, poly, and edge keys were. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you that is because you're going to see me switch between verts, polys, and edges a lot faster now because I'm just hitting these keys. Okay, so let me go ahead and just go into. We have mesh tools, we have slide on edge. So I can turn this on, and then I can middle mouse drag this right down to here, like so. And this is almost about where I want it to be, so that this edge right here and this edge right here will connect once I cut a hole here. Okay, so, but I want to show you what you could do is actually you can double click both of these, and you could slide them at the same time, and what they do is they average in between the edges up here and then the bottom edge that you're moving. So now it's nice and smooth. If you look at it here, it still looks smooth. I can double click here and just hit G on your keyboard, repeats the last tool. So if I hit G, now my slide edge tool is back on, and I just middle mouse drag, and I can middle mouse drag this just to balance out the mesh so we don't get like pinches and stuff. So it's nice and evenly sized. Okay. Now that's one approach that you can do to it, okay? And the other approach, I'm going to actually leave that like that because I think that looks fine. The other approach is to actually go into your outliner. Let's go into our front view. Let's turn our wireframe on by hitting 4. And then you go into your outliner, find the curve that makes up this, this handle. And now that I have that, let me turn off my selection, so let's see, I think it already has it. Let's see here. Component. I just want to turn off my face selection. I'm not seeing it. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that the screen size is being restricted, but here, we'll do it like this. I'll go really close here. Okay, now I got the control verts. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could also adjust this thing by pulling this up, pulling that up, and you can see you can adjust it to right where you want. But since I moved the edges, I'm not going to need to do that. This is fine the way it is. What I could think about doing is saying, okay, well, let me adjust this so this can match up to the edge here a little bit better, or maybe grab this right here, move that kind of like that. And you can see there's no edge here for this one, so this one's not sitting on an edge. So this might be the one where I actually take this and go, okay, let's move that up a little bit, like so. And we'll have to adjust some of these as well. Let's move back a little bit so we can adjust that one. Maybe grab this whole thing, make it a little bit more balanced. Although I kind of like it when it's like a little bit bigger on the bottom. I just think it looks good. So I'm going to hit 5 on my keyboard. Now I can see what I'm doing. Go back to perspective view. See what I'm doing here. And you can see I'm almost right on this edge here. Just remember, I want to get this little point right here, right on this edge. It'll make my life a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab these two things. Okay, now if I'm going to move this up when I'm in this view, don't grab the middle here. You want to grab either this or this. Okay, because this locks it to the Y X plane if I grab this little widget right there. So if I want to just move that up just a tiny bit, I can do that. And I know there's another point in here, and I can just move that up. And of course that's making these over here move funny. So now I can move that down a little bit. So there we go, that looks good. Alright, almost ready to cut. The one thing I noticed is that I feel like this handle's a little too weak. It needs to be a little bit thicker for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to my object mode, so hit F8. And F8. There we go. Alright. There's a tool we haven't talked about yet, but we'll be getting there. So there's a tool called Transform right here. And if I click on this, basically what this does is it grabs all the verts, and you can move the verts based on their normals. So you'll see what happens when I pull on this. Let me start pulling on it. Kind of just expands it out. So it keeps it where, it's generally the model's still where it's at. It's sitting where it's at, but then it's taking all the verts and pushing them out along their normals. This little thing right here completely changes how the tool works. If I click on that and then start pulling on this, then it moves the whole object. So if you want to push them by their normals, you want to leave it in its original state. Okay, so there we go. That looks a little bit thicker. I feel like now that might be able to hold this cup up, or hold, somebody can put their fingers in there and hold it. Unless I got thick fingers like me, I'd probably need a bigger one. But anyway, that's good for now. So we'll go back to object mode. Oops. Like so. Okay, now we're going to learn to cut. This is really not too complicated, and this can actually be kind of fun if you do it right. So I'm going to get my cut tool out. Now this is the only one I didn't label here because I use it so much that I just knew what it was. And this thing is something that when you're poly modeling, you're going to use this all the time. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. And you can see automatically it put me into my component mode. And you can see if I drag, I'm getting like these weird dots and lines and stuff like that. Well, basically anywhere I click, it's going to cut on that surface or cut on that edge. So if I cut right here on an edge, it's going to leave a vert. And then if I cut back like over to here, it's going to put another vert here. So that's what I'm going to end up doing actually. I'm going to end up going like this. I'm going to follow the outside of this profile of the handle, but cutting on this other piece of geometry. So I'm going to click once there, and then I'm going to go right here, click once. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, just close. Just get it close. Click again, and click again, and then one more time. And you can click here and then just slide it in. Actually, let's just click right on the dot. That'll be better. Okay, so and then I hit enter, and then it goes ahead and completes that tool. And it's hard to see from the outside there because it's being covered, but you can see it's cut right here. You can see these pieces. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to make this not an n-gon anymore. So let's go ahead and let's just hide. I should probably name my stuff too, because I tell you guys to name your stuff. So this one I'm going to name G_cup, and this one I'm going to name G_handle. Okay, so the handle, I'm just going to do a quick hide on that, and I'm going to hit Control H, and so it's going to hide it. To bring this back, I just hit Shift H. So Control H hides it, Shift H unhides it, but you have to select it in the outliner now. Okay, so the next step is we need to get rid of this N-gon. So we have 4 N-gons now. So look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's very simple to get rid of the N-gon and make this quads. All I have to do is cut. I can do this a couple ways. I'm going to cut from here to here. Okay. Now I'm going to hold Shift, and you'll see a black dot shows up. That black dot is showing me the middle point. All right. So if you hold Shift when you're cutting, it'll show you the middle point. Now if I try to go over here to cut this one, watch what happens. It actually cuts all the way through here. It's going to continue the cut. So I'm going to undo that. So what I want to do is just hit Enter, and then I can start cutting again. And then I can hold Shift, click there, and now I got it in the middle. And I can just hit Enter again. Now there's another way you can do this. I'm going to show you another way. So if we get our modeling toolkit out right here, and we put on multi-component mode, so now you can select your verts, your edges, and your faces all at once. I could select a vert and shift select this face, and then I can go down in my component and hit connect. And it will do the same thing. It'll connect it right to the center. Hit Enter and it completes the tool. So I'm going to just do it one more time and hit connect. So basically it's doing the exact same thing. It all comes down to preference. Whichever one you prefer to do is the one that you can do. Alright, now that we've got that done, we're going to go back to our vert mode. We're going to bring back our handle, Shift H. Okay, let's select this again, invert mode. I'm going to hit 4 on the keyboard so I can select a vert here. Now, I could try to move this on my own without any constraints, but what's going to happen is it's probably not going to follow the surface properly, and I'm going to get some weird lumpiness on the surface. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn on an edge constraint. So you can do an edge slide or a surface slide. Either one in this case is actually fine. I'm going to do a surface slide actually. And what this will do is it only allows this vert to slide on the surface that it's already on. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to slide it right out to that little point right there. And you see that point is where it's going to connect to the handle. So eventually we're going to combine these two together, and I'm going to connect the handle right there at that point. Okay? So let me go ahead and go and select this one now. And I'm just going to slide this out right there. And we'll do it one more time. And slide that about right there. Now, if you wanted to, you could snap it. I could hold V on my keyboard and just snap it right to that vert that it's on. And that might even be more precise. But as long as it's close, it's going to be fine. So I can go like that and just snap it right to it. It'll still stay on the surface. It hasn't left the surface because the transform constraint is on. Okay. So now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and let's hide this handle one more time. Control H. And we can turn this off for now. Let's go ahead and, oops, by hitting the wrong key. There we go. We want to select these right here. And I just want to make sure I didn't select anything behind here. Sometimes you got to be careful. If you mark key, by the way, like if you go like that, you'll select stuff that's behind. So that's why I was just making sure I didn't accidentally mark key. And I'm going to hit delete. And that's our hole. That's for our handle to connect to. And so we would do the same thing up here. And so let me go through it one more time really quick. This time I'm not going to explain every step. I'm just going to kind of cruise through it. So let's go ahead and bring out our handle, Shift H, and now we're going to go quick. Oops, I'm on the wrong tool. Okay, or I should say I'm on the wrong item. There we go. Cut, 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 you just bring it here. Okay, and now from here, I can go ahead and hit enter, and then I can go, I'm going to hide this thing right here, Control H. I could probably hide this right now. Oops. My curve, is it that one? There we go, Control H, let's hide that. Okay. So, cut. I'm just going to do this with the cut tool. It's fine. Enter. 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 Alright, there we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn my transform constraint back on. Surface slide. Bring my handle back out. Shift H. Select this again. And let's get those verts in there. I think that's the one. And I'll just slide this out to there. And there we go. So now we got the right shape. I can go to, actually if I wanted to, I can just grab the vert in the middle and hold control, right click, convert to face. Now I get all those faces and I can just hit delete. So that's one way to speed up your process. Alright, now what we need to do is we need to combine these two objects together, the handle and the main body. You will not be able to put these together properly unless they're combined. Otherwise, you can't work on them both at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and go to object mode, select both objects. So you select one, shift select the other one, and then just go to mesh, combine. Now they're one object. And so there's a few different tools we can use from now or from here to decide which way we want to do this. Okay, I mean there's a bunch of ways to connect these. I would say my preference way, I'm going to go with the target weld tool. And so I'm going to go ahead and go to my my verts, and this is target weld. Now you guys will probably be looking at poly modeling. It's off. I think this is it right here, target weld. But all of these should be inside of one of these menus. I think target weld is in here. But between these two menus, you should have all of those. Let's see, where's target weld? Well, I'm not seeing it. Anybody seeing it? There it is, bottom right there. Okay, yeah, it's just all the way at the bottom. Missed it. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the surface constraint too, because that might cause problems. So let's turn that off. In your modeling toolkit, make sure that's off. Otherwise, it might not let you target weld. I'm not sure if it would. And I'm going to target weld this to here. So how did I do that? You click on your first vert that you want to move, and you click and drag to the vert you want to move it to. Sometimes it gets a little tricky, get actually meeting up with it, but most of the time you can do it. Now, sometimes we get in a case like this where I can't see both verts, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. So let's do the easy ones first. We'll just come around here. And this one kind of didn't, I feel like I didn't move this out far enough. I got to fix this one. So if I get something like this where this thing didn't move out far enough, I'm going to have to go back to my surface slide, and I will use my snap to snap it out to here. Although I just realized that that actually allowed me to snap it off of, let's see, it's pretty close. Okay, that should be good. I don't want to snap it so I pull it out. I want to actually snap the handle to the regular surface of the cup. And there's a reason for that, because I want to keep the cup surface intact. Because you have to think about how they actually made these things. Was like if you had a potter or something that would actually have a wheel, and he would go ahead and sculpt it out. Well, that outside surface is usually pretty smooth, and then he would attach the handle later. So that's how we're thinking about it. We're attaching the handle to the outside surface. So I turned off the transform constraint. I'm going back to my target weld and just click and drag towards it, and we should be able to get it. This one's a small, there we go. So I actually have to drag kind of far off. Okay, so another approach to this, actually this one looks fine now. I don't know what happened there. All right, but another approach to this is to go ahead and you can select both verts like this, and you could go ahead and merge them to center. So there's this is a merge vertices. The only problem with that is that it is going to pull the cup out of shape. So if you can avoid doing that and you can target weld it, that's probably the better way to do it. So like right here, I have this situation where I want to target weld this up to here. So I'm going to hit target weld, and I'll see if I can do this one. There we go. It let me do it. Now, if you've done everything right, here's a way to check this. Let's see if it's working. If we've connected all of them, I'm going to hit 3 on my keyboard. Okay? I can see there's a problem in here somewhere. That doesn't look right. This part looks right. That's how it should look. Okay? But up here, there's something missing. So I'm going to hit 1 on my keyboard. So one of these is not connected correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag like this and see. I got something back there, so control and unselect that. That's only one vert, so that's good. Or we could do this. We can go to edge and double click. Okay, one of these is screwed up. Let's go back to verts. So, okay, you can see it right here. So I just did that. I drag selected, and I got 2 verts. Now the reason why I know that I don't have anything selected behind here is because my widget is right on top of that vert. So that means I've got 2 verts there. All right, so if I wanted to, I could go ahead and use this. It looks like they're right on top of each other anyway. So it should be okay to use the merge. And the merge has a distance threshold, like how far out it will search to merge these things together. And 0.01 is probably fine. So let's just check it now. So you can see there's 1 vert. You can see that right up here in our heads up display. There's only 1 vert. So now we know that we've done it fine. I can hit W to end the tool and go back to my move tool. Okay, so now if I hit 3 on my keyboard again, it should look nice. There we go. Okay, good stuff. All right, so the bottom is just the same thing, wash, rinse, and repeat. Although, with the bottom, you're going to notice that there's kind of like a lot of extra overhang here, and that might be kind of annoying. So why don't I just do this? Let's just go to faces, select one, and shift double click the next one. And what it'll do is select the whole ring of faces. Let's just delete those. So now it'll be much easier just to target weld right to this. Okay, so we'll go back to our verts and target weld, target weld. Sometimes you gotta kind of drag off in the distance before it finds the vert. Alright, did I do this one? Looks like I did. Let's just see. Yep, 1 vert. Okay, it's good. Alright, let's check it. Hit 3. Looks good. Hit 1. Alright. Now, one last thing, all right? We're gonna do a bevel on this, okay? So, what we've created here is an edge loop. So we cut a hole, we created an edge loop around here. So if I go to my edges, I double click here, you'll see it'll select the whole entire edge loop. That means if you double click on it and it selects everything, that means that you've got an edge loop, like that. Like, same thing if I'm here, or if I was here, and it'll select all the way around. I just double click it, that's selecting an edge loop. So that's good form, that's what we want. So I'm gonna go ahead and double click on this, shift double click on this, so I got 2 edge loops selected, and now we're gonna bevel this. Okay, so we can go to our edit mesh and just hit bevel. It's gonna do it way too much probably. Well, okay, maybe not. Actually looks not bad. So we're gonna bevel that a little bit, And I'm going to add a segment in. So let's just see what it looks like with 2 segments. And you can change the fraction, like how much is it beveling. But I think where we got it, well, maybe we'll turn it up a little bit. That just depends on how you want it to look. You don't want it to overlap on top of the pieces above it. So so far, I think that looks fine. We may not even need that extra segment in. It might look fine just like this. Because we kind of just want like a smooth transition. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go to my object mode. And then I'm going to go to mesh display and I'm going to say soften edges. So now that I've got those edges softened, let's turn off the wireframe on shaded. And we can see it's all connected. It looks pretty good even without smoothing it. Let's hide this, Control H. Now let's go ahead and smooth it. I'm going to hit 3. And look at how nice that looks. But wouldn't it look better if it had like a nice, shiny material on it? I think so. Let's go ahead and get our hypershade out, which is coming off down there. And let's go ahead and throw, I don't know. Should we use an Arnold shader? Let's see what they got. You know what, we'll just use a good old-fashioned blend for right now. Make a blend, double click on it. Let's minimize this guy so we can see what we got here. This thing's a little obnoxious. Alright, so in my blend, I think I want my color to be kind of a tan. Let's go somewhere there. Kind of like an eggshell, maybe something like that. That looks so dingy. We can turn the color up like this. It'll give it full power. So by default, the blend has reflectivity on. So it's at 0.5, so it's going to do a little reflection on it. And you can mess with how tight you want your highlights or how loose with the eccentricity. Specular roll-off will be like how much speck is there altogether. And the speck is basically just this little shiny highlight. It's really a fake. It's a CG type of faked highlight. Real specularity is actually the reflectivity. So, but sometimes, like back in the old days, the computers were so slow, rendering reflectivity took a long time. So that's why they would fake it with the specularity. And we still use it today. So all we have to do is go ahead and click on this, right click, assign existing material. We could do the blend. I could give the blend a name. That would be good. Let's go over here. Oh, at this point, you know what? Before I give the blend a name, let's delete the history. Let's just get rid of the history. So now it's easy to find the blend. So we just call this M for material, and then we'll just say mug. M mug. There we go. All right. All right. So let's stop the tutorial for now, and in the next one we will work on doing our own UVs for this. Okay. So let's go ahead and just